Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are on 7.4, Beaumont Community Consultation. So this is in regards to the Beaumont High School and the process that we've been following in researching this a Catholic high school for Beaumont. So Charlie, you want to go ahead?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you'll recall at the February board meeting, the board had asked that two things. One, I speak with the administration of both schools on the implications of a reconfiguration, and then to bring forward a proposed consultation timeline. So I'll just run through some of the highlights of that process. Again, there were several options that were presented in February about a reconfiguration. At that time, we kind of settled on this configuration, a K-5 at St. Andre and a 6-12 at Mother Duville as being the most viable. So with that said, this possible reconfiguration and the introduction of grade 10 at MDY would start in the 22-23 school year. So that's why it's highlighted there in yellow. To touch on some of the high-level implications for St. Andre, from the feedback of the administration of St. Andre, the biggest implication is by moving the grade 5s back to ASAA, we would need an additional 4 classroom spaces. So to make that happen, we would likely have to use the Learning Commons or library as a classroom or the staff room. That's obviously has some implications there. There's no real end in sight to that issue because, as I've mentioned later on in the document, St. Andre has their portables already on the school, so there's no room for additional portables. So a reconfiguration at St. Andre from K-5 would likely mean the loss of the music room, the science room, and the library or Learning Commons. So with that, we are faced with the issue that the music teacher is going to have to move around on a cart to different classrooms, and then that doesn't make the use of instruments really viable anymore. It also doesn't lend well to science, using the science room and the art room as they are intended. I can't imagine the staff losing their staff room as a long-term solution. That would not be desirable. The family school liaison worker currently has a classroom where she runs groups. That would be lost, and then they would have to find alternative space. You'll recall that we share the FSLW space right now. The quote-unquote office is in between Downsboro Meadows School and Academy St. Andre. It's kind of that community space. That was a joint facility, so that FSLW would have to move back over into that space, but there's not enough room in that space to do small groups. I think that's what I'll touch on at St. Andre. When I go to Mother Duville, they provided their feedback kind of on a pros and cons structure. So the good pros, the reasons to look at this scenario is A, we would have a full K-12 Catholic experience in Beaumont. French immersion students would be able to stay with us. Options would have to be limited just because of space, but we could look at some off-site things like work experience and RAP. We would keep our students so we would know them and better be able to support their education. It would continue to build the family-like atmosphere, and there would be some cross-grade leadership opportunities. Cons, locker and hallway size for a high school would be a little congested. There is no parking for high school students on site, so that would be a bit of an issue. We would kind of spill out into the community, I'm sure, and be parking on the streets in the neighborhood. Classroom sizes are a little smaller. They're not to the high school specs. The gym I see is a really big issue. The gymnasium at Mother Duville is not a high school gym. So for those of you who've been in the school, you'll know that there's no real spectator space at Mother Duville. And that's not good when you have high school athletics. And also it's not a full two-size or two-station gymnasium. So by adding on another 3 grades, we would be short gym space, which would cause issues. We often hear, we had it at Christ the King when it was a 7 to 12, people are concerned about the influence of the high school kids on the younger kids. And that was grade 7 to 12. So when it goes to 6, there may be some parents that are concerned that their grade 6s are subjected to, things like language, inappropriate language of high school kids, those kind of things. The issue with a school that's kind of would be in this setting would be because of the lack of high school space. So for example, at Mother Duville, there's no drama room, there's no, like the shop is small. It was built for a junior high, or a K to 9. So those would be challenges to some of the options. And then the French immersion program, although we could offer it, it would be limited in its capacity, which is listed as a concern for those kids who may want to move on to the Faculté Saint-Jean. Next, I'll talk about, I'll maybe skip down to the other considerations if you could, Ed. So by adding the extra grades to Mother Duville, we would move right away into an overcapacity situation of 92% in 23-24, 105 and 110 the following 2 years. So I'll remind the board that 85% is considered full. And once you go over 85%, you're starting to use alternative spaces that were not really intended to be full-time classrooms, like your learning commons. Portables at Mother Duville would be a big help and would drop those numbers. So that's kind of, if we could guarantee some portables, life would be a lot better. But we know that there's no guarantee of a timeline on those. There are neighboring school divisions in the provinces as a whole that have been asking for portables. We know at Sacred Heart how long it took to get those portables. So there's no guarantee that we would get those right away. So in essence, you're running that school into 110% capacity, knowing that you likely would lose the gymnasium, the learning commons, maybe even the staff room. All those kind of places would be lost. We know that it usually takes from design to build 3 years. So with that said, and with the fact that the city of Beaumont's told us there won't be a service site for 2 to 3 years, that would put us in an anticipated earliest best case scenario timeline of 27-28, where we could have a school open. So that means that we would be running at over capacity starting in 23-24, at least for 4 to 5 years with that kind of a scenario. And just by way of comparison, when we had both schools at St. Andre before Mother Duville, we moved in, that was 112% capacity. You may remember those trustees who toured the school at that time, that we had classes in the gym, in the learning commons, in the staff room, etc. So now, with that said, I'll move to kind of a proposed consultation timeline. So October 18th is the election. Trustees, you gave me some direction to not have the consultation before the election. So with that in mind, I would suggest that no sooner than 2 weeks after the election would be the start. So the week of November 1st to the 5th, there could be a promotion of these open houses, which is what I'm proposing as the method of first consultation, where we would provide parents, guardians with the relevant information. So going into the open house, we would kind of show them some of this information so they could kind of have a little bit of a sense. There's no school from November 8th to the 12th in Beaumont. That is a fall break in the calendar. So then on November 17th and 18th, so 2 consecutive back-to-back days, there would be 2 sessions. Parents could attend whichever one they're free for, so you don't have to attend the one at your school. They would be, in essence, just a repeat and a mirror of each other, but it would just be two opportunities there for people to attend. And people sometimes choose to attend both. November 19th to the 26th, we could collect some feedback via surveys and what people have had an opportunity to think about. And then at the December board meeting, trustees could review the feedback and decide on next steps. So those are kind of the relevant facts based on what administration has thought of and on a proposed timeline. So I'll turn it back over to the chair to lead trustees in a discussion, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Everybody received this document a few days beforehand, so they should be familiar with it. We ask that trustees look over it and have some thoughts about what was presented. So I will start with each trustee to give me your thoughts, or to give the board your thoughts on what you read, what you've heard from Charlie, and moving forward. So who would like to start? Trustee Sirwa, this is your community, so would you like to start the conversation?
Sure, thank you. Yes, in reading the document, I felt a bit disheartening because, well, I thought it would be more positive. And I know it would create more work for the admin at the schools. But on the other hand, with the plan to go ahead in November, I thought that was good, that we can still go forward with the survey and people going in and having a look at the schools. I thought that was good. And then reviewing everything in December, yeah. I think that's a good plan to go forward.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Tugwood?
Yeah, when looking everything over, as far as ASAA, I think there is a big concern about the FSLW worker, especially in the next few years. They're going to be needed even more so to have those classes. So that was my big concern with those. Some of the other things about interventions in the hallway, that's been happening for years in a lot of schools that aren't even overcrowded. But Mother DeVille, that is a concern, running 92% and 105%. And as we know, it is difficult to get those portables. We have a bit of time, and I think there was a little bit of extra money put in for portables. Didn't we talk about that, I think, at ASBA? But there's so many schools that are already on a list for them that we would be in the last. I really think it's important that these parents want the full education for their children in Catholic schools to grade 12. And I think as trustees, we need to do more consultation and let them know the full scope of what's happening. And if parents still want to go ahead, then we have to try and find a way to get them a high school. So I'm in agreement with the surveys and the consultations, just being open and transparent with parents, that even if it can't happen, at least they know we've done everything we can do to make that happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Trustee Svidich? Trustee Svidich? Okay, we'll have to confirm whether he's on the call right now or not. Trustee Eflin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for all the reports and the consultation you've done or proceed so far, Charlie. Again, this is the same story that had happened with Sacred Heart, and we are where we are today with Adon High School. From everything that I'm seeing and everything that is being reported, we also have to think about the quality of education that we want to provide, and not to compromise that or not to undermine all these scenarios. looking at the timelines involving advocating, getting the school and all of that, and if we want to really build and build well to stand time and to be able to provide a full scope of a high school, I would just say we'll move forward as is in the fall with the survey and everything. And like Trustee Tag would have alluded to, give the whole scope to the community to be able to make that decision. But my preferred this thing will be to continue or to up our advocacy in the years to come to have a better space, build a big functional high school to stand time and to support the community and to be able to provide enough options and things that would be my preferred. But on the alternate as well, once we get that community consultation done, right, we have the option of building and having the community build themselves a small high school to support time and to hold some of the things we believed in, right? Like French immersion programs that we're talking about. And again, like my community of Retired Queen, I believe a lot of people have said to me loud and clear, they don't need a bigger high school. They need a high school that will support academic focus and be small in time and to give the full breadth of experience in that Catholic education. So those are just my add-on to this discussion. And again, FSLW moving back into a smaller space would not be ideal, as we've seen again, right? We will need this space or this program for the next year or two as we move into a different phase of the healing program from COVID. Those are my things. And, it's sad to see high school students with little cubicles and not having, parking becomes an issue in the neighborhood. We'll get a phone calls. So there are so many factors that we have to look at the end of the day when we are ready to make this decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, this potential reconfiguration, very hard on Academy St. Andre, very hard on staff, the space, the capacity, and try to find 4 classrooms, like 4 spaces for classrooms. A 6 to 12 school is probably not ideal because you will have parental concerns for sure. I actually, my kids all experience these small hallways at Christ the King. Oh my goodness. Gridlock, absolutely gridlock, because the hallways got smaller when they added more not cubbies, but lockers, right? And I was there a few times, honestly, like you cannot go against the wave. So, and absolutely there will be a problem with parking. But I like that, we touched on, the consultation piece about telling the whole story to parents, right? So if we could add, like, this is just my suggestion, if we continue forward with those consultations, like we actually present the other side of the story, that we are advocating for a new high school that properly serves programming for senior students. And parents need to demonstrate, that they want that. And that the barriers are the city of Beaumont and lack of service sites. Like let parents know the full story about what their options are in that community. And it's a good opportunity just to put it all out there to parents, let them know we've done some research. We know this will happen and that will happen. And and we have some barriers in other areas, and help them, understand what the situation is, educate them, inform them, and then they become advocates for what their community needs. So I see that as more, we really need to add that piece to the consultation, is informing them of, the better choice of a high school that serves high school students properly. So I don't know if we want to add that on to the plan and continue forward, if that's something. How does everybody feel about that? Trustee Tugwood?
Yeah, I think that should be added on. That's a really important piece to know, just what we're working for and what we'd hope to have. My other thing that I wondered about, I know in Innisfil, they kind of ran into this kind of problem. And what they did was they took the kindergarten grade 1 classes and moved them to a smaller a building. Actually, it was the liquor store in Innisfil that when they went private, they took over that building for those classes. So they moved that end into a smaller space. And then there was more room for the other end. I don't know if there's something like that in Bowden that could be thought about, or.
Yeah, well,
it's just
there isn't a lot of space in Beaumont, and the space that's being used, that we used before Saint Andre was built, is being used by the Francophone. That was good space, or was workable space, I guess. It wasn't, good school space. Yeah. So anyhow, does that, I'll just get everybody to confirm if, that they continue on with the process, but add on to the consultation, the piece about, advocating for a new Catholic high school that services and programs high school students properly, and that, one of the barriers is service sites in Beaumont. So anyhow, if that's an add-on, Charlie?
Yeah, Madam Chair, what I would anticipate as a process would be in October, as an example, at the board meeting, or even in September, to provide kind of a proposed outline in concept. But I think it totally makes sense to present the historical work the board has been doing and is continuing to do on that aspect, and kind of this is an option B, and then parents can weigh in on option A or option B. The board should stay the course and not do option B, or both. Add grade 10, but continue to do the advocacy. I think things would be worded that way where parents could give us their feedback related, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Trustee Sirwad, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Charlie, what you just said. Yeah, I think telling them, being upfront and telling them all what the plan is, I think that's good. Yeah, I think we should move forward as planned.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have
Go ahead, Trustee Afon.
I believe I will add a third option of understanding that we may not be able to provide a full scope high school, but we will be able to provide an academic focused high school with limited options, right? As the third option. So then we have yours, and then the third option of a smaller high school. So then we are not limiting. But the end goal here is our Catholic parents want a full high school, want a high school Catholic experience, right? So this is what we can present.
Yeah, so I don't understand where the third option comes in. I think what we're trying to give parents, the full story of what a reconfiguration would look like, but then also the other part that we're advocating for a separate a high school, Catholic high school, that properly services or programs senior high students. So whatever that looks like. I mean, when we do our advocacy to government, you know, we give our case, our numbers, and then, you know, we're awarded what is,
Awarded to
you
us.
know, yeah, what is awarded to us, you know. So,
But then where my third option will be coming in is that if these delays are going to be going on for the next 20 years, we have an option of a smaller Catholic high school to provide that Catholic feeling smaller high school for the communities, right? For that community, that we are not waiting too long, and then parents do understand, you know what, we will have a smaller high school, academic focus with one or two options, if that becomes available, not going for the whole sky and the moon
Well,
when we really
yeah,
can't.
so maybe that will come out of the consultations, that particular option. But we're committed to, you know, finding a way to provide Catholic high school for our families in Beaumont. Okay, is that enough direction, Charlie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Good discussion, everyone. Okay, 7.5. So in regards to the recent, you know, attention to residential schools, we added this to the agenda for some discussion. So particular to Bishop Grandin, which everybody should be aware of, that Calgary Catholic has been researching the history on Bishop Grandin for the last year. They haven't made a decision yet, but they've had a really good process on understanding residential schools, understanding Truth and Reconciliation, and having a process and a policy in place to help them move through this. So right now, we know that Father Lacombe and Father Leduc did work under Bishop Grandin, and we are researching what that work looked like and what their ministry and mission work was. But we don't have a process or a policy in our policy manual about naming schools or renaming them. But we do have an AP, which it's an admin procedure that we followed when we did name Father Leduc. But it is odd because it goes through how the process happens, how a school is named. A committee and stakeholders are gathered by the superintendent. But then at the end of the AP, it says the board is responsible and approves the naming of the school. So it's kind of odd that this AP is in admin procedures, but yet the board actually holds responsibility for the naming of a facility. So I talked to a few board chairs about, you know, this situation because other boards are going through this as well. I talked to Vice Chair Efon, and I talked to Charlie on how to go forward. So the best advice I got was make sure that you have a good policy, a good process. And right now we don't have that. We don't even have an admin procedure that tells us how to rename a school. So what I'm asking the board is for, if you think that we should take back or consider taking back that admin procedure as a board policy. And then we start working on it and writing it so that we have a process on how to go forward with potential name, you know, researching, naming of facilities, renaming of facilities, and our work that we're looking at doing under the names of Father Lacombe and Father Leduc schools. So just, I'm going to open it up for discussion and just ask your thoughts. And as far as I know, Trustee Svidich is not on the call right now. He did not return at 2:15. So just so our recorder can make a note of that. I did send him an email, but he hasn't responded yet. So anyhow, just to go forward, but this is a policy item. So just wondering your thoughts. Trustee F1, do you have a comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. So as we've previously discussed, we can kick this off to policy to look at it come August when we're looking at that other policy, and then formulate some ideas over there as well, and then start moving this process forward into the future. That would be my only comment right now.
Okay. Anybody else with a comment? Trustee Sirwa?
Yes, I would agree with what Henry is saying.
Okay, Trustee Tugwood?
Yes, I would like to see if that is an admin policy, but the ultimate decision is with the board, as you said. I would like that brought in as a board policy. And we have lots of time. This is not something we want to rush. We need a good process for this to be done. I mean, I live in the city of Lacombe. I actually live in my apartment building is called the Chateau of Lacombe. The word Lacombe is everywhere. This has got to be a very detailed discussion before things are changed. And I want to see a really good process. So yeah, I agree. It has to go to policy, and a good process has to be laid out.
So I also, it's just an excellent opportunity, through a thoughtful process to educate and inform ourselves, our public, our stakeholders on the residential schools, truth and reconciliation. We really have inherited this responsibility, and I believe that we have to do due diligence. So the other question I have, does the board feel knowledgeable enough about the residential school system and truth and reconciliation? Because we have to make good decisions being well informed ourselves, right? So we actually have not made this a priority for us at all to be informed. We've made it a priority to support First Nations, Métis, and Inuit student learning, but to inform ourselves, this is something that I mean, there's been, PD out there that we've been able to attend, but we haven't done anything as a board. And as we start this process, I'm asking trustees to think about that, because it is very important to understand how residential schools became to be, how they were implemented, whose policy was whose, what government roles was, what church roles were, and did treaties happen before residential schools or after, like just the timeline of it all is just, it is really important that we understand all that. So I will just ask trustees, if you want to answer now, for sure, or we can just do an email about, if we want a session with some expertise in this area. So maybe, Charlie, go ahead.
If I could just offer a suggestion, would this be part of the board's self-evaluation and a positive path forward to, lay that kind of professional learning as a board moving forward, which will happen in September?
Yeah.
I just offer that for discussion.
Yeah, and I did have that in my notes too. It probably is going to come up in our self-evaluation, and we could address it at that point in our positive path forward. So go ahead, Trustee Afon.
Yeah, my only add-on will be, as we do all of this preliminary work, probably I'll suggest, again, we're heading out into the fall, into an election year here. And if I may just offer this suggestion that whatever happens come the fall after the election, then a very good in-depth session, right? Either once or twice, because there's a lot there to unpack when it comes to all of these that had happened in the country and in our history, right? So then we are not rushing through to have just smaller pieces of versions, but we're bringing out a full, wholesome educational PD to really enlighten all the governors that will be sitting, making decisions on behalf of our children and on behalf of all of these different cultures and people that we serve, right? So I prefer we start laying out the preliminary work and then look at the full wholesome PD sessions. By then you have your whole board together and then they can all journey together and have a better understanding. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. So definitely, and Trustee Sirwa, did you have a comment?
You were asking, do the trustees feel knowledgeable enough? I'm not sure anybody is knowledgeable enough for this, but I guess we will learn along the way.
Okay, so basically I'm hearing that we definitely need to be more knowledgeable and informed as we go through this process. So it will probably come out in our board self-evaluation, and as Trustee Afon mentioned, probably best for the new board to pursue learning more about this. Trustee Tugwood, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say I took quite a few of those classes with Chris, and they were all good. You can't just focus on the resident. You have to understand the whole culture, not just the residential schools. So there's a whole culture there, and we need to know facts. I was born in Kingston, and they recently took down Sir John A. statue. So I've done quite a bit of research on residential schools and how McDonald was involved and how Father Lacombe. And a lot of the people that wanted that taken down did not realize that he died 21 years before residential schools were made mandatory. It was really Borden and King that were the prime ministers then. But to really know the facts of something, and the facts about Father Lacombe, I think he was a really good man. Myself, that's from everything I've read about his biography and different books and things. Yeah, he was a part of that to a certain extent and did work with Grandin for sure. But yeah, we need lots of more education, and there has to be a lot of the trustees to take on themselves to do this. You can't just do it in an hour session. You have to take the responsibility, some research on your own as far as these. I don't know about Father Leduc. I haven't gone into that as much. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, all very good points. Okay, so we will start with, sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you. I think you were just getting there.
Okay.
I was just looking for a little bit more direction, just to make sure I understand correctly. So we're going to move the procedure back into policy. So I guess I just have the question, are you looking to have this as a standalone or as an appendix to policy 2, role of the board, naming of schools? And then is it your intention that I would draft some preliminary wording on the renaming piece for that policy committee meeting? Thank you.
Yes, on first thought, to me, it needs to be its own standing item, not an appendix. There's too much that can happen in, and appendixes we know are just like, they're kind of like straightforward and they only need one reading. This type of policy, I think it needs, it's going to get particular, because of what we're looking at and the stakeholder consultation, who are our stakeholders, the community engagement piece, all of that. I believe it has to be a policy. So is there anybody that would be opposed to that it become its own standalone policy? Okay, that's the recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, when the draft policy comes forward, that's when we'll make the motion to bring it back, or do we need a motion right now? to bring
No, I don't
admin
think-
540 back as a board policy.
Mm, I don't believe we need a motion right now because we do not hold APs. But once we get it back and clean it up and present it to the board, then that motion will suffice.
Replace admin 540. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, good discussion. Okay, 7.6.
Did you want
And
me
that
to
would be,
just,
yeah, sorry,
kick
go
that
ahead.
over?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I'm drifting. You know how it is at the end of a meeting. I tend to drift.
So trustees, we have the annual work plan, and in yellow are proposed changes. So Ed, I don't know if you want to share that on the screen. Thank you very much. So in non-election years, we would schedule the MLA meetings. In election years, that would be done afterwards. So that is, you'll see in November of election years, it does fall down there. In October, hold the organizational meeting and review approved board meeting schedule. That was in November, but that needs to happen in October after the election, sooner rather than later. The second bullet is the principals have asked, and the chair and vice chair have agreed that it might be a good idea to involve the principals in the Archbishop Clergy Pastoral Associates meeting. So everybody's kind of on that same page. So the triad that we speak of in Catholic education is kind of almost all at the table. And the family's not exactly represented, but at least the homes or the school and the parish are. In November, the board members attend Division Learning Day. So that was previously in September, but I think that needs to move from year to year, depending where Learning Day is. So it's moved to November because that's where Learning Day is next year. Once we do have a new board, they would schedule the MLA meetings once everybody's there and knows their calendars. And then again, in election years, finance and policy committees need to meet prior to December 15th. So as a reminder of that. And then February, we've added the report that Ed's previously presented. So it's an insurance and litigation report. May, we've struck through the AERR Faith Division Survey reviews. So that's all happening in November now. Move from August is review the financial support for the Alberta School Councils Association. So that's kind of what we did today, but we would do that in May. And then there's a couple of strike throughs on ongoing. So the ASFF, you'll recall that is no longer relevant. So we've struck that through. And then approve locally developed courses if applicable. Well, those come to the board at different times. I don't know why it needs to be on the work plan. It's in policy that's what you do. So we haven't put everything that you do in policy into the work plan, but certain things will come up from time to time. So that is a proposed annual work plan for you and the upcoming school year. So if there's no objection, we would just clean it up and have it ready to go for the new school year.
Okay, any comments or questions from anyone? I like it. It seems to make sense. There's some things that are changed around that are more applicable. And I do appreciate the principals want to be at that Archbishop meeting. So I think it's good. It'll help with supporting that relationship and communication. Okay, so if there's no other comments, we can go forward with that annual work plan. Okay, so 7.7, Reflection Day and Learning Day.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with the province's announcement of a move to stage 3, it caused us to have some discussion on our end about, what would Reflection Day look like? I think the board can appreciate that trying to get a speaker organized for the end of August it's too late now. People are booked up. People still don't know, will the border be open? Those kind of things. So what we're proposing for Reflection Day is a less formal gathering in person of the division staff. So more of almost a welcome back instead of a full-blown Reflection Day. So what the day is proposed to look like would be a board chair address, a superintendent address, followed by a mass with the Archbishop, a welcome back barbecue, and then a dismissal. So some giving staff an opportunity to get together. We've heard it lots of times. Trustees who were at TBAC heard it. Staff miss getting together and that feeling of the division as a family. So it's kind of a lighter day. Would be again some opening addresses and an introduction of the faith theme for the year, mass with the Archbishop, and then a barbecue. Now, Learning Day is in November. So in working with Lori and Claire, because we were not having the speaker at Reflection Day, what we are doing is we're bringing in a faith speaker at Learning Day. So that'll have kind of the kickoff will be that. And then there'll be Learning Day again in November in person, sessions related to mental health, working with students in an RTI manner to get them, caught up, to try to fill the gaps of any possible learning loss, and kind of working through moving forward in kind of life after the pandemic. So Learning Day, Reflection Day, kind of a little bit of a blending together there, but the faith speaker would happen in Learning Day because we were proceeding with the thought that was going to be our first opportunity to get together as a division. And we were going to have that speaker, kind of talk about, hey, we've made it. Let's celebrate our faith. Let's celebrate, making it and moving forward. So I hope that answers kind of those two questions about, what's proposed next year for those 2 days.
Thanks, Charlie. Any comments or questions?
So
Go ahead. Trustee Tugwood?
I was just going to say, I like the idea of the Reflection Day being less formal. I think our staff really need that, to have that time to interact with other staff and with the trustees and as you said, coming together as a family. I really like that idea. Thank you.
Trustee Afon?
kind of trustees barbecue then? They'll be on the barbecue. Yeah, no, Charlie, that sounds like a very good way of coming back alive and really gathering. And we heard that loud and clear during TBAC that, they all miss each other enough of the Zoom. So that would be fair to start up the school year. Thank you.
Trustee Serwa?
Yes, I was just going to say, that sounds like a really good idea. Fun day.
Yeah, that's excellent. I like that. And if you do need help with serving or doing something, I would be very pleased to help out with that. So I'll just put my name out there to help out if you need something.
Okay, so we've kind of are moving forward with the plan of having a caterer for the barbecue, but we'll keep that in mind, and we'll speak with, I think Lucy and Claire are looking after that. So we'll let them know that there are some trustees and senior admin, I'm sure, that are willing to put an apron on and serve if need be. But I think it's a great idea to interact with the staff.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Some of us, it could be the end of our term, and we need to show our appreciation in some way to our staff too. So
that's why I wanted to barbecue.
Okay, thank you for that update. Okay, ASBA orientation workshop options. So I did contact ASBA. Terry Gunderson does have an updated trustee orientation. I will just check. But the date that we had didn't work. He's already working October 25th. So that date didn't work. Unfortunately. Yeah, I guess I should have brought that up when we talked about the schedule, but I guess I can keep looking for a presenter or a facilitator. And there could be somebody else from ASBA by that time. So is the board in favor of me just continuing to look for a presenter and staying with that date, October 25th? Trustee F1?
Yeah, I would say so. However, then if possible, an alternate date.
Pardon me?
If possible, an alternate date as well. The 25th is really nobody's available from ASBA. Maybe an alternate date to just make it easier for new trustees.
Okay, well, we'll just work on that. What the options are out there. But we did approve our schedule already. So if we can't make that October 25th date, then we will have to revise it. So just keep that in mind for now, but otherwise I'll work on something for October 25th. Okay. 7.9. So this is just the Rural Caucus budget message. So basically their budget is exactly the same as last year. And they do have quite a bit of carryover. That's why to be a part of the Rural Caucus for the next school year is only going to be a couple $100 because they do have quite a bit of carryover. But they are hoping that they will just run in person as much as possible as they have in the past. So, I mean, we did approve this budget in the previous year. So I wouldn't expect that we would change, our support of this budget, but they do need our support. So I'm just wondering, the only question that I have is if they don't run the same, and if, we haven't approved that we'd be a part of the Rural Caucus yet. So, and if we don't, then would some of that surplus be returned to us? So that was the only question that I had. Does anybody have any comments about the Rural Caucus? At this point, we are still a member, so we can go forward and approve their budget. And then in the fall, it would be, when they do ask for a renewal of membership, then I guess that's when the board would decide, are we still a member? And are we going to go forward and be a member, or are we not? And then the surplus funds that are sitting there, would they be returned to the board? So anyhow, I'll just ask somebody to, give me their thoughts on how to go forward.
Madam Chair, I would say let's move forward with it. However, based on your comment there again, we need to, I don't think I'm familiar with all of their bylaws. I know it's an offshoot of, so that's a valid question to ask, what's his name? Is that Stuart?
Sherry.
And Sherry and the rest as to in the future should what happens there. And then let's get those answers. But no, they're doing a very good advocacy work, and let's continue to belong. Thank you.
Okay, so in her email, she does want a motion that supports their budget. So is somebody willing to make that motion to support the Rural Caucus budget as presented? Okay, Trustee Tugwood.
Okay.
Make a motion to support the Rural Caucus budget as proposed.
For the 2022
school year.
Yeah, we might as well just call it the way that it's named there. It's an annual proposal for cost recovery budget. So if Ed is able to get that up. I guess maybe just add in ASBA in there just to be sure that so everybody knows what it is. Okay, Trustee Tugwood, is that your motion?
Yes, that's good. Do you need me to read it again?
Sure, just read it
Okay.
as provided.
That the board support the ASBA Rural Caucus annual proposal for cost recovery budget as proposed for the 2021-2022 year. A lot of twos.
I know. Okay. All those in favor? I see
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
Liz, Trustee Svidich, Trustee
Aye.
Afon.
I,
Okay, and that is carried unanimously. So I will inform Sherry from the Rural Caucus. Okay, so Trustee Svidich, what time did you return just so that we can record it?
Sorry, just 5 minutes ago, I was I had to go to the bathroom.
Okay, so we didn't have you return since 2:15. 'Cause we-
Correct.
Okay. And returning at
15,
3:10.
3:10.
Okay. Okay, so that's carried unanimously. Number 7.10. So this is just something that Trustee Afon and myself, we talked about, that we were allocated a portable for Sacred Heart School, and perhaps we just send a thank you letter just acknowledging receipt of that. And then the hold harmless funding to the Minister of Education, just recognizing that the ministry did hear school boards, that advocacy was received and heard, and we did receive the funding that we advocated for this year. So just confirming that everyone's okay with sending those letters or any comments. Okay. Trustee Sirwa? Or just thumbs up about
Yes, I think it's a good
sending
idea.
thank you letters. Okay. Trustee Svidich?
Yep.
Okay. And Trustee Afon? All
Yes.
good. Okay. So we'll, oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Might ask Ed for some help on this, but the whole harmless letter to the Minister of Education, that's simple. But who are we sending the letter to for the portables to? And I think we have to be careful because, you know, I'm worried about if we send it to the Honorable Minister Wilson, for example. Is that appropriate? It may not, like, is it a political decision? And that will shape the form of the letter. Or are we writing to the minister on that as well? And I don't know, Ed, if you have a thought on that.
Yeah, I thought it would just go to both. It would go to the Minister of Education for both.
Yeah.
It can be the
Okay.
same letter.
Okay.
And then I think we need to CC our MLAs
and MLS, yeah.
and perhaps ASBA, because we're talking about the hold harmless, like just, they did a lot of work there.
I believe the letter came from the Minister of Education, so it'd be for the portables. So therefore, we'd reply to that.
Exactly. And then CC all our MLAs into it, right? Thank you.
Okay. 7.11. So we do have an invitation to attend the Child and Youth Wellbeing Review. So originally the date did not work for me, but it worked for some senior admin, but now the date has changed and it does not work for senior admin, but it does work for Trustee Afon. And I am actually off that. I think it's the 30th now, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm off, but I don't think I'll be available though. Like we're supposed to be traveling that day. So Trustee Afon, if you're good to attend.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, then we'll go with that. Trustee Tugwood?
I also thought I would attend.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll,
The invitation from Ron Orr.
okay. So what we'll do is we'll just find out how many, if there's a limit on the number of people, but there shouldn't be, because it's a town hall. So yeah, that's
There won't be
fine.
a limit, and you have an hour before it starts. You can register and listen on. Yeah. And
Yep.
participate.
Okay, Charlie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, are trustees going to register themselves, or would you like Kim to look after us? I'm worried that there may be some link provided to the registrants. It might be easier if you did it yourself. Are you okay with that?
That's the way town halls operate. Yeah, they would like to know who's who in the zoo and direct emails. Yeah, we'll look after that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm available, I will, be on as well. Okay. 7.12, or yes, is school fees. So I had a couple of questions about school fees. And that was my addition. Just wondering, I guess I didn't. Just wondering how we're handling that 2 weeks of the online learning, because we would have had transportation fees. Last year we did refund, correct? For fees that.
Yeah, last year was, I'll just remind trustees that schools were closed. Well, classes were now online for the last 3 months. So it was a little bit of a different scenario, but I've asked Ed to speak on behalf of this item. If you wouldn't mind, I'll turn it over to him.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to fees, I guess there's two things there. The first one being transportation fees. Back in December, when we went into a partial shutdown for the high school for part of December, and then K-12 for the beginning of January for 1 week, when we talked to the board at that point, transportation fees were viewed as an annual fee, supporting the operations of the whole transportation, and the board advised administration that waiver or partial refund should not occur because it is an annual fee, regardless of the number of days that we actually operate. With regards, so that's speaking to that point, that's so administrations to continue to operate under that information. With regards to full day kindergarten fees, which are approved by the board at $290 per month. Again, to me, the same philosophy would apply, is that it is a monthly fee regardless of the number of operational days that are there. So in December, we don't prorate the 290. The 290 is worked over the course of the year. So that's kind of the first discussion. The second part of that is also that we were instructed by the ministry to maintain all of our staff. So we maintained our staff through that, and then continued to offer programming, although an online program. So parents still had access to that, even though there was not an in-person program for kindergarten on a daily basis. So at this point, we've discussed that we haven't had any concerns expressed until recently we received one, but we were operating that programming still continued and services were still being provided. Staff were still on board to provide those services. So we weren't looking at any refunds at this point in time. but given both fees are board set fees, of course, that's for the board if they wish to revisit both of those items.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it came up at a school council meeting. So I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. And it doesn't preclude any individual parent, given their personal circumstances. I know a lot of families been put under distress, that they talk to the school about their ability to maybe address those issues and some consideration given in those circumstances. So that would then fall to the administrator to have that discussion.
Okay, does anybody have any comments on this item? Trustee Efron?
Yeah, I'll just comment that like Eda, it's explained, and we've given that latitude to site to look at individual situations. So I would say we can just defer it back that way and encourage parents if there are circumstances that are being making them unable to support those. Yeah, speak with site and then see what can be done. Thank you.
Okay, I was concerned definitely for parents, that the cost was a hardship, and if they didn't use transportation for a certain amount of weeks. Again, I just considering, yeah.
When we look at our transportation, I mean, even the way we administer the transportation fee, if somebody was to cease to be in the division and leaving the division, we look at the refund, but we don't provide any refunds after April because most people are looking for transportation services during the winter months. So we don't do any kind of proration after April because depending on the distance, people are less likely to be using transportation if they're close to the school. Students may be biking to school at that point in the year once the weather improves, those type of things. So I think there's multiple factors in terms of why administratively we recommend that the fee is for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Just by way of context as well, at the fee at $50 a month for 2 weeks, it's really $25 is what we're talking about. So I'm not sure that it would be an undue hardship, although I don't want to speak for everybody, but if it is, as Trustee Efron has said, maybe they speak to their principal, but $25, if we do a division-wide rebate, does add up to a lot of money and a shortfall for us.
Yeah, no, I realize that. I just, just considering the whole year and, what families are going through and any hardship that is out there. And then I just wanted to clarify late fees, I guess. And I understand, if as a division, libraries are the only ones that charge late fees, per school, like on a school basis, right? So just, again, like just considering like people that just the hardship of the year, but late fees, they, it is a charge to help recover books that have been lost or damaged or etc. So it's a necessary late fee, but that we would not charge late fee on any other items.
Yeah, we'd leave that to the discretion of the principal in terms of how they administer their school fee in terms of that. And I would suspect that our administrators are very, very sensitive to the individual circumstances of a family.
Okay, so is that something that we could clarify, that late fees are just added to, are considered for the library, but if late fees are considered for other fees, like, could we just clarify that? Like, I understand each school is trying to make up their own.
Yeah. The schools have never submitted any fee structure that includes a penalty for being late with payment.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious where late fees have been applied for a delayed payment in any regard. And if there's circumstances that way, it's certainly not divisionally approved.
Yeah. So,
Madam Chair,
Trustee
if I may add my 2 cents to that, like I've earlier said, I know, like for myself, my son brought home a book and then it overdue for like weeks and whatever. And he returned it back to school with $1, and he came back home with the $1, right? As we're speaking, again, we don't typically chase our parents, sending to collection agents and say to pay fees here and then late fees, charges, and all of that. So individual circumstances, that's why that discretion sits with sides. A parent goes in, resolve their problem as is financially, and then walked away, right? I would hate to see us trying to meddle into this. And I do know you and I had certain emails or conversations with an individual that was all over Facebook and the rest. So I would just say, let's leave this to the discretion of sites to deal with it on individual basis and to support our parents and to grow their community. That's short of it. Thank you.
Trustee Sirwa?
Yes, I was just going to put my 2 cents worth in and say that I don't think we should be concerned about late fees. And in regards to transportation fees, I don't think that parents are really concerned that they need a refund. I think people are being very understanding, and I say just leave it.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, I would be of the same opinion of Trustee Sirwa to just leave it.
Okay, like I said, I appreciate the conversation. We did have a couple of comments at a school council meeting about them, so I just wanted to clarify. But I do support our admin supporting families with, with any difficulties that they're having, or they know their communities. Okay, 7 point, it would be 13. Good news stories. So we do have the Friends of Education Award. So I do have that list here. And then we have a video of our Edwin Parr First Year Teachers Award. So the Friends of Catholic Education Award is a board-sponsored award, and it recognizes people or organizations that are connected to the school at the parish or greater community who support Catholic education. Education belongs to everyone, and we are forming students through our faith-based education. And through this award, we want to recognize the contributions of the greater community and let recipients and the school community know that this support is greatly valued and important to Star Catholic School Division. So the criteria is it can be an individual or a group. School administration, they make the decision who will receive the award, and it cannot be no more than one recipient or group in a given year. And the local trustee has the opportunities to present the award. It cannot be an employee or a service provider of the school either. So our first award recipient here, Sacred Heart School, Melinda Zander. So her award will be given October 13th, 2021. Melinda is a busy mom of 4 children. She has held the role of fundraiser coordinator and co-chair on our school council. Melinda is instrumental in organizing and running our school's hot lunch program. She always participates in staff appreciation and track days. Melinda is a parent who is the first to volunteer to help out in any way that she can. We appreciate all that Melinda does for our school and our community. At École Notre Dame, the Knights of Columbus Leduc chapter is the recipient. The award was given out June 22nd. We are so appreciative of the role they play in promoting and conducting educational, charitable, religious, and social welfare works. École Notre Dame School has benefited from their donation of grade 4 student Bibles, financial support, and service on Shrove Tuesday for pancake breakfast each year, financial assistance with our score clock that had to be replaced at a time when we had very little funds, and helping out with busing for families that can't afford it. We are very grateful and thankful to the Knights. Christ the King, Margaret and Colin Froese. They are parents at Christ the King. Colin and Margaret Froese have chosen a Christian education for their family in selecting Christ the King School. Coming from a devout Christian family, the values of our Catholic faith are taught and reinforced with all their children. Academic successes, as well as service to others in athletics, are all a part of the Fro's Daughters' journeys at Christ the King School. Colin and Margaret are grateful advocates of our school. They support staff as well as their daughter's school community in many ways, from participating at the school council, volunteering for any event, supporting our school service projects, or cheering in the stands at various sporting events. It was an easy decision to recognize Colin and Margaret for our Friends of Catholic Education Award 2021. And I would absolutely support them. They are just a wonderful parents at that school. Father Lacombe, their recipient was the City of Lacombe, and that award was given out already, and Trustee Tugwood was there. We saw some pictures of that. This year, Father Lacombe Catholic School decided to give the Star Friends of Catholic Education Award to the City of Lacombe. Over the years, the school has had a very positive relationship with the city, and it has received great support during the building of the new school building. A special shout out goes out to the city's recreation department, who has been extremely accommodating in allowing classes to book facilities last minute during rainy days, as the school building currently doesn't have a gym due to construction. We thank the city for this partnership and look forward to continuing it in the future. So the other recipients haven't been announced yet or selected, and I'm sure they'll have their awards when it works for those schools. So the next item, our Edwin Parr First Year Teacher Award, and we just have the ASBA or the Zone 2-3 Edwin Parr evening video of the 2 clips. So hopefully I gave the right segments, and these are the 2 winners, and they're just sharing their awe moment of first year teaching. We just need the sound.
So you're saying you couldn't hear any of that?
No,
Okay.
you definitely
Do
cannot.
I have to be unmuted to?
Yeah, you do.
Let's try it again.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And now from Edmonton Catholic School Division, St. Gabriel's School, Maya Morrison.
We're just not seeing the video now.
Congratulations.
And now you're muted.
Are you able to just send the links out? Yeah, Zoom.
There.
In Edmonton Catholic. So I teach K-6, all students with autism. And we have one big goal in our classroom that overarches, I would say, everything we do. And what that goal is we are filling up toolkits so that I can send these kids back to your classrooms and they can really belong in them. So I am teaching them classroom skills, foundational literacy, numeracy skills, getting those challenging behaviors under control so they can really enter your classroom and have belonging in there, make friends, and ultimately not be the child at the back corner, right? We all know, we all know that. I would say communication is the first route to get there. So we are always working on how we can communicate with each other. So oftentimes that's through an AAC device, so an iPad that they would talk to you through, or verbally, or maybe both. And that is, I would say, first and foremost, the skills that we're trying to build. A really nice example of how this really came together was actually just a few days ago. I have two of my students are quite aggressive and they have trouble communicating. So when they really can't explain what they want or need or what they need to request for, sometimes it gets a little bit physical because how else how else would you say what you need, right? Like, really, you can't say it. You don't know how to. How does this work? So often it's physical, but one of my students had her favorite toy on her desk and she turned her back, and the other student went up and grabbed it and was stimming off of it and loving it and just enjoying it so wholeheartedly. And she turned around and saw, and it's like all the staff froze. We were thinking, oh no, we're about to hit crisis mode. Lock the doors, something's gonna happen. And she just said, hey, that's mine. And everybody went, ooh, you got to be kidding me. And it just shows all this that we've been working on. Everyone was calm. He just gave the toy back, walked to her desk, and we all thought, success. This is why we're here. This is why we do what we do. And I can't wait to send all these kids back to you so that you can see just how far they've come. And it's just warms my heart. They're just truly amazing. So I love them all. And congrats to everybody again.
And this is our Notre Dame winner.
The job that I've always dreamed of. And again, congratulations to all the nominees.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And now from St. Thomas Aquinas Roman Catholic School Division, Ecole Notre Dame School, I'd like to introduce Kara Romans.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. And congrats on not only the nomination, but almost making it through your first year of teaching. We all deserve a pat on the back. I teach kindergarten, and I also teach music to the entire school for elementary. So I'm in a dual position, and just like a lot of you said, it is really tough to choose a favorite memory or a highlight from your year. So I've kind of come up with an analogy that I feel describes my year and will most likely describe your year. So I was thinking about it and I thought, you know, my year is kind of like being on a roller coaster. You approach the roller coaster and you're excited to get on, but then you're not really sure what to expect. But then you start going up on the roller coaster. And this is where you meet your students, you're really excited to start teaching, and you have your like honeymoon phase. You're planning really well, your lessons are going great. And then you get to the first drop. And this is where you're expecting it, of course, but you just want to get back on the uphill climb. And this is kind of where you have failed a lesson and it's not going as planned, or a parent has come to you with a concern, or you're just honestly learning the ropes of being a first-year teacher and trying to balance your life with your work. And then here comes the loop-de-loop. And at this phase, we're all like, get me off this roller coaster, because this is the moment where you felt out of control and that you are falling out of your seat. And for me, I've been on 3 isolations this year, and that was honestly my loop-de-loop. And most of you, I'm guessing, have taught online as well. So that was also another loop-de-loop moment too. But this is anywhere where you're just not even sure what you're doing. A kid's puking in the corner, or you're just like, how do you do this teaching thing? And then the roller coaster ends, and you get off, and you look at it, and you turn around, and despite all the ups, the downs, the loop-de-loops, you look back and you say, I would do that again. And that's kind of how my year has been. I would do it all again, anything, the ups, the downs, the loop-de-loops. I loved it so much. It has made me grow so much. And I'm just so lucky to be growing as a human in this wonderful profession. And thank you for the amazing night, and congrats to all of you. We need to stay together in this teaching profession. So have a great night.
Okay, well, that was fun. So anyhow, I am going to step out because I actually forgot about my appointment, my vaccine shot, which Henry reminded me. So I think I'll leave and still try to get in, and hopefully they'll just count me as a late one. And I'll just pass the chair over to Henry to finish up the rest of the board meeting. It's pretty straightforward. But anyhow, just wish you all a wonderful summer. And just in regards to correspondence, like I said, I always send out correspondence with everybody, but I do have a lot of correspondence that I did pick up from the office. Just a lot of cards and you know, just really some nice words from a lot of people in regards to Christ the King event. And I will have those at the office for everybody to look at when we are back in person. And I guess we'll know later if we'll be able to go back in person or not. Okay, I'm passing it over to you, Henry, and have a great night, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Michelle. Run. Go get your shot.
There's no late fees.
Hello. So we'll move on to 7.12, good news stories.
Well,
Oh.
I can share that on Friday, we're having a mass for our grade 9 grads. That's going to be a good news story. That we can all go in person and have this mass.
All right, perfect. Yeah, we Queen did have their good news story for their grade 9s as well. A couple of them gathered and have some barbecue and things like that outside of the school. But then, yeah, everything was celebrated in front of the school, passed by. Hopefully next year, things will be better. Okay. Any other good news stories? Okay. Oh, we were going to be honoring grammar rules, but we couldn't do that to formally present her this thing again. So we will, again, I will make arrangements to say thank you to her and give her plaque in our community here. Thank you. All right, 7.13, positive path forward. That is before you all, I'm sure. We can all see that. Anything? We can all see that we've explored all of this. I'm sure when we do our self-evaluation and all of that, this will be changing in the fall, and then we'll plan moving forward with it. Annual work plan, 7.14. Again, Mr. Bouchard has been doing a lot of good work to align all of the changes that are coming, that has been going on. So by the time we are done in September, I'm sure we've lined everything up. Any comments?
Nope, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Mr. Bouchard, did you catch anything that needs to move from one month to the next?
No, everything will be changed for the next meeting.
All right, perfect. 7.15. We are almost there. One more. We've done today's meeting, so our next meeting will be the special board meeting on the 13th to make the final decision about the online. So please clear your calendars. That will be at 4 p.m. 7.16. Please, if you have anything to submit, we're coming to that end of the year. So if you can do all of that before you start heading into your summer breaks, that would be good. And as well, we should all remember this. If in 90 days you haven't claimed anything, right, that goes back into the big pot. So be mindful of that. And then let's make sure we've done our due diligence to send in those requests, claims. All right. 7.17, Mr. Bouchard. What do you
All right.
have on your list?
So policy committee will meet to review communications allowance, and we'll rework the language regarding the board chair, as well as look to add language around the prohibition of duplicate claims from another organization.
Mhm.
And we'll revise the appendix to align. Alberta School Councils Association will proceed with support of the school council registrations. We'll table the conference attendance motion until further details are known. We'll revisit once we have the welcome letter outlining their event schedule and associated costs. MLA communication will send MLAs an updated letter outlining the position statements that were passed at the spring general meeting. Chair Lemaire will forward positions to superintendent once received.
Yeah.
The Beaumont community consultation will proceed with planning and holding a November consultation. The community will be presented with the historical work that has been done related to advocacy. As well, they will be presented with the possibilities of a reconfiguration. An outline will be shared with trustees at the September or October board meeting. Naming of schools will move the administrative procedure back to policy over time. And it'll be a standalone policy. So admin will draft some language around renaming the schools, and it will be revisited at policy committee. Thank you letters will be written to the minister. Well, one thank you letter to the Minister of Education for the hold harmless and portables, and we'll CC the MLAs. That's everything.
And then the other one with the portables, the portable letter as well, which came from the minister.
Yeah, this one letter for the both of those. Yeah.
Oh, for both. Awesome, thank you. All right. So correspondence, we all had, like Michelle shared, there's few on paper mails at the office. She hasn't gone to it yet. So when she does, we will all see that. We will, so due to everything that is happening from Kamloops and what we know, this is a special prayer that we would like to say in closing today. Any comments?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. So if you can all join me, and then I will be at your mercy to move it up and down for me. Okay. So let's center ourselves and acknowledge that, yeah, our history isn't the best, but we know as humans, we work with what we have at any given time. And may we keep healing and knowing that when we are united and we have mercy and we are compassionate on each other, we will be able to move forward in our human experiences and forgive one another. So if you can all join me in the prayer of healing of Saint Kateri Tekiwakta, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Blessed Saint Kateri, we come to you in our time of need to seek your intercession on our behalf. Just as you experienced great suffering and sorrow in your lifetime, so too do many of our friends and neighbors who are reeling in the wake of a tragic discovery. We pray for the children whose earthly remains were recently found, and for all those who did not make their way back to their homes and family from residential schools. We hope that each of these innocent souls have found internal peace and interrupted comfort in God's loving arms. We pray for the families of these children, survivors of residential school, and anyone who continues to feel trauma and pain as the result of their experiences. We ask you to intercede with our Lord Jesus to bring to these people true healing of their bodies, minds, and spirits. May their hearts be filled with his love and strength as they embark upon this journey. We also ask for wisdom and guidance on our own journey of learning and reflection. And we pray for God for the grace and humility needed to walk this path towards truth and reconciliation. Saint Kateri, please watch over us all, and through the goodness of mercy of God, help us to embody the strength and fortitude you were blessed with during your time on earth. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you all for what you do. What a great afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.
See you.
Have a good summer,